The same name, RSSP, except it's...
Yes, yes, the same name. I'm looking at the number 19.
Same number.
Is it RSS or SSR?
RSS.
It's RSSP.
RSSP.
Yes.
Now, is there any meaning to these letters? KR, RSS, SG. What's the meaning of these letters in the account names?
Yeah.
When you say 2KR and then you say KR,
yes,
is that supposed to differentiate something from another?
Yeah, from the mainly these names will come from either Accountant General or Ministry of Agriculture. So for us, like when they are required to supply the name of the account anytime they are opening an account, so they supply these names. Unfortunately, I don't know what the RSSP stands for, and then 2KR.
But in the account opening details, there could be the full name telling us what KR means.
Yeah, I think these particular ones, we couldn't find the account opening details, but the account opening details are found, you know, some of them are communicated like that, 2KR. That's how they will also state it in the account opening request. There are some that we have presented earlier, which has the account opening, you know, details. But these particular ones, we could not find.
It's not just this one. We had an experience with one account called MRI, presidential account, that just nobody seems to know what it means. So maybe as a matter of practice, you should insist on the full name of those letters.
Okay.
Yeah, for your records. You can use your abbreviation anyhow you like, but somewhere in the records, people need to know what MRI means, what KR means, what SSR or SG means. Does your account opening form specify that?
Yeah, the account opening form will specify account name. So the one opening the account will write the name.
Okay.
So, but as you rightly said, when they abbreviate, you could go a step to say what does the
in brackets, yes, in brackets.
Yes, to put it so that we have a full information.
Otherwise, we'll have accounts full of codes that nobody can decode.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So there were transactions in the dollar account?
Yes, there were transactions in the dollar account.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes, that is the 03201200146.
Yes, it's also 146, so, yes.
Yes, there are transactions, but like unfortunately this account was closed, you know, through the letter from Accountant General on the 15th of March 2018. So Accountant General wrote to the Central Bank to close this account.
2018?
Yes, 2018.
Did he close any other accounts?
A lot, but like for the Japanese grant ones, you know, this is the one closed. But we've closed more than 300 accounts this year.
Okay.
With letters from Accountant General.
I hope not the ones that we are investigating in this commission.
No, once if we discover any of such, like I remember recently, there was one to move some money, so we had to write back to them that this is before the commission. This account has been presented to the commission, okay. So we will advise you liaise with them so that at least you know, we will be able to forge ahead. So we wrote to them back on that, and then you know we haven't heard from them again.
Okay.
On that, but we try to be a bit vigilant on the accounts that we have, particularly the ones we have already presented. If they write for any transaction in such accounts, particularly to move funds or to close, so we usually write back to them to liaise with the commission, you know, so that like you know we will all be on the same page, so that like what happened to you know HIPIC wouldn't happen, you know, again. So we're trying to safeguard against that.
Thank you. There is a last account, Japanese grant, SD of Education Project.
Yes. Just the 20. Yeah. Actually, don't seem to have it.
It's 142.
Oh, okay. It's right here. So that account, there was no transaction in that account.
None whatsoever.
No whatever. No whatsoever.
All right. Okay, we can put that aside. Otherwise, we will receive now the 14 accounts, except the one that has no transactions. We will note it as not having any transactions.
Yes, that's the only one without transaction. The rest, all of them have transactions.
Yes. Can I have the rest, please? The 14 accounts, together with the account summary.
Okay, and then in each file also there is individual summary also.
Thank you very much for that. Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted 14 accounts in connection with the Japanese food aid or Japanese grant opened at the Central Bank of the Gambia, together with a summary provided by this witness. The handwritten list that you provided on last transaction dates in your handwriting, that's your handwriting?
That's my handwriting, and
yes,
in each file also, the type 1 is there, on first page.
Could you just endorse against your handwriting as well?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Just let him just endorse here, and then present it. tell him the first 10 accounts were Exhibit 40. CB40. Was it CB41 or CB40? So CB41 to 24. Did he tender? CB41 to 24. I don't know what they're looking at. They're not looking at the... Mr. Chairman, if I may, the first 10 accounts were admitted as CB40. If we may apply for the 14 accounts presented today to be made part of CB40. The first 10 on the list that has been submitted. The first 10 on the list was tendered as CB40 and admitted as CB40.
document showing a list of accounts with central bank relating to Japanese rice and other aid for the period 2nd October 1999 to 1st September 2014, admitted marked CB42A. Folders containing bank statements and transaction documents to be marked respectively A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. Admitted in a bundle marked CB42B.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not have any further questions for Mr. Jawara on these files, on these accounts.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jawara, you may leave.
Thank you. I recall Mrs. Awasise Sabali.
Was here before.
Morning. Please, you can have a seat. Please have a seat. Morning. We remind you of the oath. Just reminding you of the oath.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ma.
Mrs. Sabali, you were summoned in relation to a case, it would appear to be, a case in England, in the United Kingdom, sometime in 1998, during the period when you served as Attorney General.
Yes, ma'am.
And Minister of Justice.
Yes, I received the summons.
Yeah. Thank you. Could you remind us again of the period you served as Attorney General and Minister of Justice?
Attorney General and Minister of Justice was after the elections 1997 to 30th July 1998. But of course I acted prior to that.
At the time you were referred to as Secretary of State?
Yes.
Thank you. You are aware of this case?
I am aware of this case. It came to the Ministry of Justice through a letter that was received from the Department of State for External Affairs at the time. And they had received the case through diplomatic channels from the High Commission, the British High Commission in the Gambia, forwarding the writ of summons that was issued on behalf of Chantrils Commercial SA against the government of the Gambia. And they forwarded the letter to us. I have prepared copies for the commission. And in that letter was also copied to the then Secretary General, Office of the President.
All right. I see you have two folders.
You
have forwarded some documents to us.
Yes.
Do you have a folder that you would like to tender, or do you wish us to tender? Okay, you've prepared a folder for the commission.
I prepared a folder for the commission.
We appreciate that.
They are in accordance with the dates in which communications were received and documents were received. Right. Maybe if we go through them first, or you want us to tender them and then go through them after. It depends on the procedure the commission would want to adopt.
Okay. Firstly, we'll just give the file some context. What is the name of this suit that you received through diplomatic channels from the United Kingdom against the Gambia government?
It's Chantrils Commercial SA as plaintiffs and the government of the Republic of the Gambia defendants.
Could you spell Chantrils for the record?
CHANTRILS commercial, then S.A. as the plaintiffs.
And could you give us the suit number and the
Well, they have it as 1997 folio 2306 in the High Court of Justice, Queen's Bench Division, Commercial Court.
Thank you very much. What we're going to do, we will apply to have your folder admitted, then we'll give it back to you so that you can take the commission through the events as they unfolded, chronologically as you indicated.
Okay. That's fine.
Can I have the file, please?
Madam, can I have this? Just add it to the file. It's part of the file. That's a copy of the acknowledgement that was filed on our behalf in the court by our solicitors in England.
I see that you have numbered each document.
Yes.
And you have a note.
Yes.
And so where do I fit this one in? Which of the numbers? Number one is the writ of summons, well, the letter forwarding the writ of summons and the writ of summons.
That one is in April. If you look at any date in April when the solicitors filed something. I didn't give it a number because it stood alone.
Okay. I'll just put it against number 8. When you get the folder back, you can confirm that it's the appropriate place.
That's fine.
To place it in the folder.
That's fine.
Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted a folder containing 15 documents produced by this witness. All the documents are numbered and have a note attached in the witness's handwriting,
Yes.
I presume, explaining the document.
folder containing the writ of summons issued on 17th December 1997 by the Queen's Bench Division of the High Court of England between Chantrill's Commercial SA versus the Republic of the Gambia, plus correspondence between the parties and others concerning the said suit or matters leading thereto. Admitted mark MS-202. Yeah.
Could you give the witness the folder after it's marked, please? Mrs. Sabali, could you explain to this commission the involvement of your ministry, by extension your own involvement in this matter, and how it ended, if it did, during the period you were Attorney General and thereafter, as far as you know, to the best of your knowledge?
I don't know how it ended because I was fired on the 30th, but we'll come to that. Okay. When I got the letter from the Department of State for External Affairs, which was copied to the Secretary General, I made another copy of all the processes and requested to have an appointment with the President in order to discuss the writ. I called the Secretary General, he was then Mr. Aliungam, and I told him I received this letter from External Affairs and it was copied to his office. He did not confirm whether he received his, but then I said I was making another copy. And there is an urgency in this matter because we have a time frame within which to file our acknowledgement of receipt of the writ. And we have to instruct a solicitor in England who in turn will instruct a barrister to represent us in this matter. And then I made it very clear to him. I said, Mr. Ngom, we had a commission of inquiry on crude oil on the Jawara administration. And I was the counsel assisting that commission. I hope we're not going to have a new scandal in this, during this particular regime, because if that is going to be the case, I'm sorry, I am out. I was very clear with Mr. Ngom. So he fixed an appointment for me to meet with the President, and the President invited him, and we discussed the writ, and he said to me, that's the President, Yahya Jammeh, that he knew nothing about the lifting of crude oil in Nigeria and that the government was not involved in any transaction involving crude oil in Nigeria. And that I should go to the courts in England and tell them that. I said, that's not how it works. We have to instruct somebody there. I don't practice in the courts in England. And we must know something very clear. I said to him that since Department of State for Trade was responsible for ECOWAS matters, etc., whether we could find out from Department of State for Trade if they have any knowledge of this crude oil issue. He said no, there was no such thing, because he would have known. So I contacted Mr. Amisa. He was a consultant once for the Gambia. He was working with a firm of solicitors in England. He put us through to a firm. He said he was no longer practicing, and that was how we instructed this particular firm.
Was it the Ghanaian, Justice Austin Amisa?
Amisa, yes, Austin Amisa. And he put us through to those people, and that was how I wrote to one Mr. Lloyds there on the 25th of February 1998, And I told him that we were served with this particular case and set out our position as a government that we know nothing about this and would like them to handle the matter for us.
If I may interrupt you for a moment, just so that we can have the details.
Yes.
The letter that you received from the Department of State for Foreign Affairs is a letter dated 17 February 1998.
Yes. It's a letter dated 17 February 1998.
And it also had attached to it the writ.
It has the note verbal number 6 of 98 from the British High Commission in the Gambia. Okay. That one is dated 11th February 1998 and the writ attached. Because the British High Commission forwarded the writ. If I may just read it, it says the British High Commission presents its compliments to the Department of State for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of the Gambia and has the honor to serve on the Department of State for Foreign Affairs a writ issued in the High Court of Justice, Queen's Bench Division between Chantrils Commercial SA and the Government of the Republic of the Gambia. And it goes on.
All right, thank you. Could you just tell us what the claim was?
Sorry, let me just...
The claim
from the writ
Chantrils had against the government of the Gambia. I see there is a claim.
If I may just read it from the writ, it says the plaintiff's claim arises out of the defendant's anticipatory and or repudiatory breach of written contract between the plaintiffs and defendants dated 15th September 1997, under which the defendants agreed to supply to the plaintiffs all of the crude oil provided to the defendants under a contract between the defendants and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation dated 30th July 1996 and signed on 2nd August 1996 and extended for 1 year by a letter dated 12th September 1997 and is for 1. Damages including but not limited to the repayment of US dollars 601,625.32, being the balance of a prepayment made by the plaintiffs to the defendants and loss of profits. 2, interest pursuant to Section 35A of the Supreme Court Act 1981 on all amounts awarded due to the plaintiffs to be assessed and costs.
Okay, so what are we to understand from this that they were claiming, the plaintiff was claiming against the Gambia government for breach of a contract it had with the Gambia government?
Yes.
In respect of the lifting of crude oil from Nigeria?
Yes.
And that in fact it had given the Gambia government an advance
payment, yes.
And 601,625 United States dollars is outstanding.
Yes.
From that advance.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. All right. We can proceed. You said you contacted...
Sorry, yes. Before you proceed, yes. From your conversation with the ex-president, when he said he had no idea about this oil lifting, is it normal to be served a summon like this in the High Court of England on a matter you have no idea about?
Yes, that's why if you will just allow me to proceed with the folder, you will see where we were attempting to set aside the service of the writ of summons on the grounds that we know nothing about this. But then we got other documents which said no. If you read the documents, they're saying no. There was a first contract and then came the second contract. But I will show you where the president...
So you were misled by the president when he said...
Well, I'll show you where there is a document which will show where the government acknowledged that there was a first contract.
I am not a lawyer.
Yes,
I'm a financial person. I want you to answer to me yes or no. No. You were misled by the ex-president when he said to you, point blank, he didn't know about the deal.
Yes, I was misled. He said he didn't know, and he subsequently said that this concession was given to him by Abacha to assist him in starting his political career. And there is a document which shows where I asked him about the bank's account because it was repeated in both contracts, and he said they received, the money was being managed by a committee and for APRC, and that they were receiving the funds or paying the funds into a local bank account in Dallas.
So when he said his political career, it meant Nigeria's support was not to the country, but to the person.
Not Nigeria, he said Mr. Abacha.
Okay,
Abacha, who was then the president of Nigeria.
So one president was helping another president?
In his political career. But if you look at the first contract, it was in 1996, and that was when we had the first presidential election.
So it had moved from bilateral issues to president issues, well, or it never was bilateral?
Well, I followed the evidence of Dominic Mendy, it should have been bilateral. But this was what he told me. And all the things I told, whatever I said or wrote to the lawyers were things that he told me, and whenever I had a meeting with him, his Secretary General was present.
Thank you for now.
Mrs. Sabali, maybe we will resume from when, then maybe everything will become clearer as we proceed. Yes. When you wrote to Robbins Lloyds Esquire, solicitors in England, to represent the Gambia government?
Yes.
Okay.
I wrote them a letter on the 25th of February 1998, and I copied the Secretary General, if you look at the foot of that letter. And that I told them that the government was taken aback by the claims being made against the Gambia government, and that
maybe you can just read briefly so that your narrative flows. Okay. And we understand.
We have been served with a writ of summons from the High Court of the Justice, Queen's Bench Division Commercial Court. The writ was issued by Clyde and Co. of 51 East Cheap, London, EC3M IGP, acting as solicitors for the plaintiffs. The government of the Gambia is taken aback by the plaintiffs' claim and instructs my Department of State as follows. 1, the government of the Republic of the Gambia did not at any time enter into any contract with the plaintiffs, nor had the government given any person, organization, or institution any power of attorney to enter into any contract with the plaintiffs on the government's behalf. From the official records of the government of the Gambia is not involved in any crude oil transaction with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, nor has it appointed any agent to enter into any such transaction with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation on its behalf. The government of the Gambia would highly appreciate it if the plaintiffs could make available to the Department of State for Justice of the Gambia all copies of all documents relating to the alleged contract for the matter to be investigated, if this is possible. The government of the Gambia rejects the plaintiff's claim and instructs that the suit be defended.
Thank you. Yes. We can stop there. I think that makes the position as you quite clear.
Yes.
And this is what you were instructed to do.
I was instructed, and the instructions were given by the President himself.
All right, so tell us what happened after that letter.
Counsel, we have to rise. We'll be back in 15 minutes.